Wagwan Creatives. On the 7th Tier podcast today, we talk to a designer who's worked with many cold musicians like Childish Gambino, Snoop Dogg, Fall Out Boy, designing their tour merch whilst teaching other artists what he's learnt on his journey so far on his very own YouTube channel. The Tier presents Fuller Moehagan. Yo, man.
Hey, what's up?
Yo, man. Wagwan. How's it going, bro? What's up?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. What about you? How's your day been?
Everything's good, man. I'm just kind of getting started on some work for the day, but
Okay.
yeah, it's been good so far.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Yeah, same here. Just been pretty busy, man. I saw something on your story you put up about the Black Lives Matter movement. You said that you're doing work with a lot of artists that want like a graphic tee or anything inspired by the movement that's going on right now, man. I just like to say, as a black person, I really support that. Like, I think what's going on now is really starting to bring us together in a way that hasn't before. And I just wanted to ask you, man, like, what made you do that? Because there's so many people now that have a platform like yourself that are not really speaking too much about what's going on. What made you want to do something and be a part of it?
Man, I have to like, it's so important. Like,
Hmm.
I couldn't imagine just like sitting on the sidelines and not doing anything. Like,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, I always tried to stay on the right side of history. Like,
Mhm.
you know, racism is such a insane concept to me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just really trying to push things and keep this momentum going and
Mm.
do absolutely anything I can.
Yeah. Big respect, man. I think what you're doing is amazing, man. You've done a lot. So explain what you do, man, because I think what you do is absolutely certified. I actually found you on an Instagram ad. Like you it's an Instagram ad on what you do, like your tour much. But just to give a bit of a background on what you do, man, because I think you're a cool creative.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so this all started years and years ago. I just got into designing merchandise for bands and artists, and for about a decade, I was an art director at a big merchandising company. So we were working with a lot of artists, a lot of bands, and I ended up leaving the company, and I went kind of rogue and freelance and started doing my own thing. So within like the last year, well, actually I've been like sort of plotting it within the last year, but it's really only been since like February or January. I
Hmm.
started a YouTube channel because I really wanted to start teaching people how to design, especially like the younger generation of kids who might not necessarily, have someone to look up to in terms of like t-shirt design. And like, I personally really love, I've been a streetwear head, you know, since my
Yeah.
early 20s.
Yeah.
So
True. Wow.
I'm basically, what I really want to do was like be the person that I wish was around, when I was just starting designing, because,
Yeah.
I made so many mistakes,
Mm.
and I wish someone had been there to like point shit out to me. Is it okay
Yeah.
if I learn
Mate,
this?
go do what you want, man. Do what you want. Do what you want. This
All
is
right,
this
cool.
this mate. This is your. I'm getting you on, man. You need to have all of your voice heard, man. Say what you want, man. Say shit. Say fuck. Anything you want.
I appreciate that. Yeah, so I started the channel, and I did this one video that was called How to Design a Bootleg Rap Shirt, because I love that style. I've been doing that style for years and years. And I was like, man, I bet there are other people who would love to see how this is done.
Mm.
So I made that video. Um, it kind of just took off. Like, I think now it has like 30,000 views or something, which, as like a new YouTube channel, that's like kind of strange. Um, so that took off, and I started getting all these comments and messages being like, do more of that. So I just really like dug in and like started doing more of the bootleg style stuff, vintage bootleg style t-shirts and tutorials. And it just sort of like has snowballed from there. People were asking, can you do some presets? Can you sell your textures? All that stuff. So that led to the website, which is the ad that you saw. And that kind of brings us to where we are today. So I still do full-time freelance design work for artists and bands. I work with a lot of record labels, and just sort of had this thing on the side. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. That's so cool. Like me personally, like real talk, like after this video, I'm gonna be watching your stuff because I obviously own a clothing brand called Seventh Tier. We clothe creatives like yourself, rappers and etc. And I'm actually trying to start another side hustle, like doing logo designs, and also doing like t-shirt designs. So you're like the perfect person. So I'm definitely gonna check out your stuff, man. I was looking on the website then, you've done like a lot of work with like certified artists like Childish Gambino, and a load of other really big artists, man. As a creative myself, do you like how does it feel? Do you ever get like shit? This is a lot of pressure on me. How does it feel, man? Because you know you're working with, I'm assuming maybe the managers, or how does it? How do you feel, and how is the process?
So yeah, I guess for me, like I kind of like thrive under pressure. I like
Okay.
when there's a deadline that's
Hmm.
like coming up real quick, and I don't have enough time to overthink. I only
Okay.
have enough time to do what I think is going to be best and do it as fast as possible. So it forces me to make really quick decisions,
Mm.
which personally, like I think when you're a creative person, it's sometimes hard to turn off your mind, and
Yeah.
because you have so many different things, like I could do this, I could do this. Oh, yeah, but this might work better.
Mm.
And so those deadlines kind of force you to make a choice because
Mm.
you don't have a choice. Um, so as far as like creative blocks or anything like that, um, I really try to um, set up. I set up a process basically for when that happens. It's basically a fallback plan that if I do get stuck, I can go to an inspiration folder. I can go to different websites to get inspiration. So it's basically just a matter of setting up a process so that when you do run into those blocks, you kind of have a method that you can go to unlock whatever the creative block is.
I think that's big. That's big, man. Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it because I know a lot of my friends, you know, a lot of them are like producers, upcoming rappers, and when they have creative blocks, they won't do anything. Like they will literally won't do anything, and that may stop them with work because you know people still want shit made. But if you're having a creative block, you know, that's it's really um a waste of money because you could be doing more work. And I think that's sort of good that you've got a process with, how you sort of get out of that. How did you learn that then? Because I think as a creative person, and as you said, like, you would have liked to have someone who, directed you, and gave you some steps. How did you actually learn the creative process, Because that's something that I'm struggling with myself. How did you get round to sort of making a process that works for you and making a process that works for your clients and etc.
Man, I don't know. I mean, I've been doing this for so long that
Hmm.
like I don't know. I just have sort of fallen into this place where I know well, let me just say for one thing, like when it's like your job and it's what pays your bills, you just have to figure out a way
Yeah,
past those creative blocks. So
yeah,
I was basically like, I don't have the luxury of like, if you're like a songwriter or producer or anything like that, and it's like something you're doing for fun, you might be able to sit around and wait for the muse to strike to be inspired. But when it's your job and you're paying the bills, like you can't wait for the muse to
nah,
show up.
yeah.
You have to have those creative, those processes that you can go
Mm.
to keep going. So yeah, I didn't really have a choice in the matter, So
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
hopefully that answers your question a little bit.
yeah. Nah, yeah, I get what you mean, man. I get what you mean. That's sort of what I'm getting to now because I'm not at that stage where like, if I don't do a certain piece of work, I'm going to be in trouble. But I sort of take advantage. I just don't. Sometimes I just won't do anything because I don't really have any deadlines and stuff. And yeah, I think that's sort of a good way of putting it. So you said like you're into like the streetwear community and stuff. How did that inspire you to get into design? Because I know there's so many people that are like sort of similar to you, like Bobby Hundreds. I don't know if you heard about the brand called the Hundreds. Bobby Hundreds was big on design, and then he obviously started his own streetwear brand. You've got Virgil Abloh with Off-White. How did you like merge your passion for like design into like streetwear?
I've got a good Bobby Hundred story if you want to hear it.
Go for it, man. Because he's the like, bro. When I started up my clothing, man, I was watching his videos on Complex. Everything I could find. Go for it.
So check this out. Back in maybe like 2005 or six. This is a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
The Hundreds was a relatively new brand, and blogging was a new thing. Like that was like the hot thing for like if you were starting a streetwear brand, you better have a blog too.
Yeah.
So I had a brand, and obviously Bobby was like the pioneer, and so that was someone I was looking up to at the time. So I don't know how it happened, but like I was active enough on like Hypebeast forums, and I think High Snobiety had just gotten started. But I was active in the forums, and I was promoting my brand. I was promoting my blog. And I don't know how it happened, but somehow Bobby Hundreds emailed me just out of the blue. And I remember like I was like shaking when I got the email, because it was like it might as well have been like Michael Jordan emailing me, you know?
Yeah.
So, and it was just about this blog I'd written about a band called Jimmy Eat World, because he was a big fan of them. He had taken pictures of them, you know, like when they were first starting out, and literally it was just an email to say, hey man, I saw your blog. These are my favorite Jimmy Eat World songs, like classic, like Bobby Hundreds, like talking like he was best friends with me already, you know?
Oh my days.
But ever since then, like that, like solidified for me that like the Hundreds is like one of the truest, like they are the embodiment of streetwear, in my opinion, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So as far as like how I got into streetwear and how that's like affected my design, I've just always loved the fact that streetwear is very personal if it's done correctly, in my opinion. And, you know, t-shirt designs, a good t-shirt design sends a message, and it is used to communicate, you know, a message that you have, whether it's political, whether it's, you know, just fun, whether it's just fashion, you know, anything like that. But I don't know, man, like for me, like I'm from a small town where there's like, it's like devoid of culture. And so when I was falling in love with all these things, whether it was streetwear or rap music or anything that wasn't around me in my town, I needed to go to these outlets like streetwear online. And so I feel like I've basically like made a home for myself online, because I was like filling in this void that wasn't like available in my city. Like I used to have to drive like hours just to hit like a streetwear boutique.
Oh,
yeah, man. Yeah.
Bro. Yeah, I know what you mean, man. I know what you mean, because at the moment I live in Essex, which is outside of London, but originally I'm from London. I don't know if you heard of it. It's a place called Camden Town in London, and that place is like a tourist attraction. And bruv, I know what you mean. Like right now, like there's not really any culture. There's not really like any streetwear culture or anything here. You have to go to London to like see the Supreme drops and to see like any little thing that's got Bape or any of these big brands, even the Hunches, etc. Whereas here I am, man, it's completely dead. Like there's nothing here, and I know what you mean, man. It's a bit frustrating. It's very, very frustrating, you know. You said something interesting about streetwear and how if it's done right, it can be amazing. Like, what do you think is the wrong way of going about maybe with a design or stuff? Because I feel like with what you do, like I think it's certified, but there's so many people that will just hop on waves like, oh, yo, we'll just do this t-shirt about this artist because he's popping right now. Like, what is your difference between good streetwear and sort of streetwear that isn't really done the right way?
That's a really good question. So I sometimes will have kids hit me up and they'll send me links to their brand, and I can pretty much look at a brand like right away and see whether or not they took the time to craft it in a way where it's personal to them. I feel like if you're just, looking at whatever is cool on Hypebeast or Instagram or whatever, like the people who actually know true streetwear and aren't just in it for whatever the next cool thing is, like they recognize it right away. It looks very lukewarm. It comes off as very bland, because there's no storytelling involved. And that's like the biggest aspect. That's like the coolest aspect of streetwear for me, is like, you should use it to tell a story. It doesn't have to be anything complicated, but in my opinion, like the closer the brand ethos and motto is, and how it's reflected in the graphics is to you as a person, like the brand is going to be better every time, like, because you're going to care that much more about it, because you're trying to literally use it to communicate a message. So, there's no right way and wrong way to do it, but I feel like unless you have the right intention from the start, it's just gonna come off bland and yeah, just boring, I guess.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. Yeah, I know what you mean. That's something I'm trying to work on, and I think that's why the hundreds have done such a sick job of it. And although they're not the biggest brand, which that's another question I want to lead on to, they've done a solid job of it. Because I was watching videos, and when they moved their shop, I can't remember the place. I think it was Fairfax, I believe. I may be wrong. But yeah, everyone was like, yeah, this is such a strong community, and people really love the brand, and people still do now. And it's such a personal thing. And that's the question I want to lead on to, man. The 100 is such a certified brand, and there's other brands like the hundreds that aren't a global thing, but they are really, really good at what they do. Do you think they get enough credit? Because you have massive corporations like Nike and Adidas. Like, do you think these smaller brands get enough credit? And if they don't, why do you think that is?
Well, I don't think that the average person wants to take the time to get to know a brand. Like, if you're, like, Bobby Hundreds from the Hundreds, like you've taken the time to, obviously he's a big personality, and like most brand owners don't take that same route, and maybe they like to stay, in the background.
Yeah.
But these big companies like Nike or Adidas or any of those, nobody knows who the faces are behind those companies unless you're like a real Nike head and you know everything about it. But like the average consumer doesn't know these people. So I think, when you're a smaller streetwear brand, it's useful if you really try to make an effort to show your own personality and who you are as a supplement to the brand, because it creates a more personal experience for the customer, and the more the customer feels like they know you, the better they know your brand. So that's why I feel like that's why you like the hundreds, because you like Bobby too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Same here. So if I don't know who the president CEO of Nike is today, but if he wants to start like putting out YouTube videos and talking about like what his favorite fucking movies are and shit, maybe, not that they need the help, but you know what I'm saying? Like, so I just feel like streetwear has just always been more intimate, and that's why it appeals to me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. I feel like, you know, that's why streetwear is doing so well right now, and that's why I think the hundreds are doing so well. That's why I think all of these small brands are doing so well. But it does get annoying for me, because like they have such a personal experience with their consumer, and they really take the time to make sure that you really know them behind the content. Because I know Bobby Hundreds has his own YouTube channel where he did a lot of videos on that, and it's annoying when you have like all of these big corporations who just want to sell you something. They're seen as so much bigger, and they're seen as so much better. But really, the only reason why they're seen as that is because they're just bigger. They're just bigger. Whereas these smaller brands, probably put in, the same work. And although they're not at that level, they really care about the consumer, which I think is interesting, man. So I think it's interesting to see.
I agree, man.
That, the evolution of a streetwear. One thing I did want to ask you though, like, with like the artists that you work with, like how is the process? Like, do you have, obviously you don't talk to them, right? Or do you have to talk to like their team, or what how does it work? Like, yeah.
Yeah, so it always depends on what the project is.
Okay.
You know, if I'm designing for Nirvana, like I'm not going to get like a phone call from Chris
Yeah.
Novoselic,
Yeah.
Nirvana, you know. But
Yeah.
like if I'm working, I
That'd be
used to
cool though.
do I used to do a lot of work for an artist called K Flay,
Hmm.
and she was very involved with her merch, so she would get on the phone and really kind of steer the ship. So it just depends on the artist. It depends on the company. Obviously, like I love when artists get involved because it shows, that they care about every facet of what they're doing. But for the most part, like I work with larger record labels and merchandising companies. So I'll work with like art directors who are basically the middlemen, between management and
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a matter of like they'll get together mood boards and general direction for a project, and then I just basically have to dissect it and figure out what I'm gonna do. But yeah, that's the majority of projects. Like for something like Childish Gambino, he wasn't with a
Mm.
merchandise.
System right now. And bruv, like I said, keep on doing what you're doing, man. Like, you've really helped me out. I'm gonna be looking at your stuff. To designers and artists that watching this right now, man, they're probably gonna want to find out more about you. Where can they find you? Like, where's the best place to find your work and etc.
For sure. So Instagram right now is like, it seems to be the best place to talk to me. I'm very responsive on there. So it's at fuller.moe.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, you can visit the link in bio.
Nice. Yep.
That
Link is
has
gonna be in the bio. Link is gonna be in the
link
bio.
um, that has links to my YouTube. Same thing. I think
Yeah.
it's Fuller Moehagan over there.
Yeah.
You can hit my portfolio from that link too. Um, but those are like the three main things: Instagram, YouTube, and my portfolio to like actually see the client work that I'm doing. So yeah, that's the best place to find me. And I definitely love hearing from people, like whether it's just like them saying they've been inspired or actually sending me designs for critique. Like I'm open to literally everything, and will always hit everyone back. So
Big respect. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you go follow him. The link is going to be in the bio to his Instagram, to everything. And yeah, my guy, thank you so much for doing this. Yo guys, remember we are doing a sale on the Knotted World crop tops and tees for pre-orders on them. So enter Knotted20 to save 20% off on those items. So make sure you go check out our website. The link is going to be in the description if you're wanting to pre-order those items.
what the ideal environment would be, or the ideal like job setup would be for you, how ambitious you are, because jumping from having a full-time job and having that security to just kind of going off on your own is obviously very risky. So if anyone has that sort of thought in their mind that they might want to do that, I definitely suggest trying to ramp up as naturally as possible to that. Like in my case, I probably spent like a year and a half working full time at this job, but then also freelancing on the side. So if that's an option, I definitely recommend it, so that you can basically sort of ease into the transition as smoothly as possible. And I basically built it up to the point where I was making almost the same amount working full time as I was working after hours.
Yeah.
So when it got to that point, there was absolutely no reason,
Mm.
like at least
Mm.
monetarily, that I shouldn't make the jump, because if I'm
Mm.
making almost the same amount,
Yeah.
working half the time,
Mm.
it definitely would make sense to jump to full time. So that's when I made the leap. I'm glad I did it that way and sort of was able to test the waters a little bit beforehand.
Mm.
So that would definitely be my suggestion, is just to work on whatever it is you want to do, whether it's a different occupation, if it's in a different field, work on it after hours, try to build it up as much as possible. And then you'll know like when it's right to sort of make that switch usually,
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right, man. I think you're right. Like, it's a very daunting process, but I think you can sort of tell when it's sort of working out by, just, how much you're making, and by also, um with making a lot, you also see that you're really affecting people's lives. Because, for example, like you said that you get DMs, upcoming brands want to talk to you, and I think, you can definitely see when you're doing something good, and especially in the art world, because, like, I don't know about you, but you've always told, like, by other people who aren't artists, like, like, I don't know, like, it's a very risky thing. Like, you hear about the saying, being a starving artist and all of that sort of thing, and whatever, and it's a bit frustrating. And, what advice would you give to, say, an artist who is on Instagram and posting their work and etc.? Because I know a lot of people that do that, but I think the difference is, with them and with you, like, I feel like you've mastered sort of how marketing and the social media world works. And I don't know if you have, but I feel like you've done a good job on that. That's how I came across you. Whereas I see a lot of artists that just post their work, and I talk to them and they just continue to post their work and no growth happens. So what advice would you give to them in terms of actually having success with it and making progress, whether that be making money from it or just growing their brand?
Sure. So I'm very fortunate in the fact that, just like, for whatever reason, like, my genetics are just like half art minded and half business minded.
Mm.
So I'm just like lucky in that
Mm.
regard.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it felt very natural to sort of like look at my art and design skills and see how I could organically merge it with the fact that I am an entrepreneur and I am interested in that world.
Mm.
So if that's not the case, and that is a, a lot of designers and
Yep.
artists just don't have that,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if that's the case, there's people out there whose job it is, whose job it is to promote artists and to, um, be experts at social media. If that's a weak part, for you, like if that's one of your weaknesses, you're not very good at Instagram or any of that stuff, you know, just basically find people who are good at it, because, those same people might not have the art mind, and maybe they wish they did. So maybe they want to be involved with artists just so they can kind of feel like they're in that world a little bit. Um, so that would definitely be my advice. But if you really want to do this thing on your own and you want to make your art your business as well, it's definitely not a bad idea to just sort of force yourself to do research and take those steps, because if it's really important to you, you should know what's going on, like yourself. Like, you should have some of these skills yourself to promote your own business and to have sort of the financial toolkit to work with, so that you're not relying on those other people, because obviously the more you can do yourself, the better. So yeah, that would be my advice. And that was a really good question, because I have tons of designer friends
Yeah.
who could
Yeah.
have a much bigger business and have way
Yeah.
more clients. They're just
Yeah.
not, they just don't have that part of their
Yeah.
mind switched on,
Yeah. Yeah, brother, I know exactly what you mean, man. Like, that's why I wanted to get you on, because I feel like you've got a good platform, and I feel like you can definitely help a lot of people out. You're helping me out, because, like I said, I'm gonna watch your videos after. I think it's gonna be big for me, because at the moment, right now, I can draw well, but it's translating that digitally, and I think that's really what you do. To be honest, and I think you do that very well. With that being said, then going back to like the beginning, then what is the next thing that you're going to be doing? Like I said, you're doing a lot of the Black Lives Matter now. What's sort of the next step for you, whether that is doing some designs on the Black Lives Matter movement, or whether that is doing something else? What's sort of the next step for you, maybe 5 to 10 years from now? Because I think like you can, like what you're doing now is amazing. Like you're teaching upcoming artists and upcoming designers, and I think, you know, not a lot of people with the platform would do that. I think a lot of people can be selfish, or they just don't really want to do it. But I think what you're doing is great. So where do you plan to take it?
Yeah, man, it's honestly so early in the game for me, like when it comes to teaching other people and
Mm-hmm.
you know, offering them some digital stuff that will help them along their design path.
Mm.
So, you know, when I'm looking to the future, like I definitely see myself continuing to teach people, trying to
Mm-hmm.
develop, you know, more of a database of like tutorials and resources that people can go to,
Nice,
um,
nice.
to keep learning. So that's definitely a huge part. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely want to collab with other designers,
Mm-hmm.
because maybe, like you said, you know, they might not have that business mindset. So
Yeah,
if I can offer them a platform
yeah,
where they can, you know, sell products digitally or do their own tutorials, because, you know, art is obviously subjective,
yeah.
and what one person likes is not going
Mm.
to be what someone else likes.
Mm.
So if I can get more creative people on board to show what they do, you know, we can just keep kind of building this thing and
Yeah.
giving people more resources
Yes.
to go to sort of pick up different things along the way.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, 5 to 10 years is a long time, but I definitely
Yeah.
feel like the path I'm heading on now of just like teaching people with like all the messages I've gotten, like it's really like motivating to keep doing that. So that's about the best answer I can give you. I just want to like keep teaching people and keep giving people resources.
Bruv, I think that's amazing, man. Like I said, I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing. I know in America now it's a bit of a sticky situation with the protests going on, and you know, with everything that's going on. And I think, you know, it's a brilliant time to sort of be inspired, because although it's not the best time, you know, people are gonna start thinking about what's going on, and it's probably gonna give them ideas if they're artists to do t-shirts on what's going on in the system right now. And bruv, like I said, keep on doing what you're doing, man. Like you've really helped me out. I'm gonna be looking at your stuff. To designers and artists that watching this right now, man, they're probably gonna want to find out more about you. Where can they find you? Like where's the best place to find your work and etc.
For sure. So Instagram right now is like, it seems to be the best place to talk to me. I'm very responsive on there. So it's at fuller.moe.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, you can visit the link in bio.
Nice. Yep.
That
Link is
has
gonna be in the bio. Link is gonna be in the
link.
bio.
um, that has links to my YouTube. Same thing. I think
Yep.
it's Fuller Moehagan over there.
Yep.
You can hit my portfolio from that link too. But those are like the three main things: Instagram, YouTube, and my portfolio to like actually see the client work that I'm doing. So yeah, that's the best place to find me. And I definitely love hearing from people, like whether it's just like them saying they've been inspired or actually sending me designs for critique. Like I'm open to literally everything, and will always you know, hit everyone back. So
Big respect. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you go follow him. The link is going to be in the bio to his Instagram, to everything. And yeah, my guy, thank you so much for doing this.